Good morning, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina with GAI Insights, where we rate news, AI news, every day, essential, important, and optional, saving you time and pointing you in the direction of the interesting trends that are happening that can help you navigate your own application in AI. Today, I have Paul, John, and a special guest, Chris Brock. We have an Ankaj on our team. We have technical difficulties and we have some sound problems, and hopefully it will resolve itself as we proceed. So let's introduce the first article, and then we'll ask John to take us through it. The first article is about DeepSeek, that many of you have heard of them over the last couple of days. And the question is, are they really sending your data to China? John, could you please take this?
Yeah, absolutely. This useful short article. So DeepSeek, of course, is really taken the market by storm because of its algorithmic innovation, much cheaper to train. Or so they claim, and it seems pretty believable. And then very, very high performance of this model, and the ability to use smaller pieces of the model from China. And this article points out, I think correctly, that if you download the model and use it locally, it does not seem that there are any kind of mechanisms within the downloaded software to actually send information back to China. But of course, if you go to, and if you stop there, Ankash, that'd be great. And just blow that up a little if you could. If you do use the server-based version, that is, bring it down in your phone or in your machine, and then use their inference back in China. It does say here that the People's Republic of China, that data, those data are stored in the People's Republic of China, and the Chinese have a very aggressive a policy in terms of the government's ability to do anything they want with that data, pretty much. Look for patterns, look through their laws and see if there's any behaviors that you have that are, violating any of their laws. So very much a wake-up call. If you're going to download this, put it on your phone or put it on your machine, and use their servers, you are communicating your profile, your prompts, and so forth, and your device, obviously, to the PRC, People's Republic of China. So fantastic intelligence move by the Chinese, I think, here. And I wouldn't be surprised if their military industrial complex is involved with the technology, as ours is with our folks. So like that, something very much to pay attention to. Great model. Bring it down local if you want to keep anything private. So I would say important, maybe essential.
Thank you, John. Chris, maybe you could give a sentence about yourself and then tell us what you think about this article, or about this issue, rather.
Sure. So I've been in the front seat of generative AI for over 2 years now. I started a Facebook group, AI for Business and Life, that has grown to 300,000 members. So all the chatter over the last week has been around DeepSeek. So it's probably, I would consider this an essential article, just because I think we really need to think about where we're putting our data. I know a lot of people have talked about responsibility and ethics and like where you're putting your data out there. If you had problems sharing your information with OpenAI or Claude or Google's Gemini, you should definitely have a problem with DeepSeek when it comes to their hosted model. However, it's amazing to see what these open source models have done. I think Meta sort of led the charge last year, like, hey, we're going to go open source. So seeing this open source model that you could host on your own environment, that's really solid, just shows that we've sort of hit a plateau of text models, that I think that it's just going to be incremental wins in the tech space right now. But the big wins are going to be multimodal. And I don't think DeepSeek's quite there for multimodal work. So it's sort of a text model. But I think it's fascinating that the costs are getting faster, cheaper, and more open.
Well,
Yeah, I forgot to mention something that Ashish brought up, which is you can use this model through hosted at Perplexity and on the Perplexity servers, which is a much safer way to use it. Ashish is saying, and I would agree with him, don't use the app on your phone.
Let me make the case for essential only because companies are in the crucible, really need to think through what their secure employee chatbot policy is this year. Most companies I'm talking to aren't even getting close to more than 20% of their employees using a secure chatbot. And a handful of them are even encouraging employees to use public chatbots for public information here. And given how popular this is in the press right here, if you get 3, 5, 8,000 employees, for sure some of your employees are downloading this and using this. So I do think it needs to be on the radar screen of the AI leader to understand, what do we care if someone at Goldman Sachs puts data into the public chatbot of DeepSeek or one of my coders or anything else? So I think we've talked a lot about the shadow IT being leakage over there, and this is just adding to the risk on that. So in that sense, I have it as essential. I think also the AI leader needs to be aware of all things DeepSeek right now because it's the third or fourth day in a row. It's on the front page of Wall Street Journal. It's crushed $600 billion market cap, and every AI leader needs to know the facts on that. And that's why we have a LinkedIn webinar coming up on Friday at noon to help people stay current.
yeah, I was also on the essential front. Adam, you joined us. We had difficulties hearing you. Could you say something?
Mic check. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so I'll pass the moderation to you. Go ahead.
Okay, super. Looks like we have a couple of votes for essential. Chris, you were saying you thought it was an important read, or were you essential as well?
I was essential as well.
All right, let's leave it at that then. John, did you have an opportunity to weigh in before I joined?
Yep, essential.
Perfect. Ankaj, let's flag it essential and move on to the next article.
Adam, I think Ankaj.
Oh, right. Ankaj cannot talk. So this is.
Okay. No one told me that. Wonderful. I'll introduce the articles. So here we have a piece on Hugging Face about the concept of their inference providers on the hub. And I believe we have Luda to start this one off. What do you think about this?
So I rated it optional. This is a great service that Hugging Face is providing to the community. Essentially, it allows the companies like Together AI, Faye, and the like to be on the platform and allow their users to go directly to the servers or the companies the models rather, that they work with, their partners. And Hugging Face for now is not really charging for that service until they have the partnership agreements. But it is a great ability to aggregate models in one place and have the APIs available. But it is really developer option, a small one at that. So optional for me.
And Chris, I'm to make sure I understand this correctly. So for non-technical users, if they want to see an easy way to ask 5 or 6 models, they can go to things like chathub.gg, which is a browser front end to an API. Other companies are building inside their firewall routing mechanisms. This is a way for developer to kind of use an outsourced, centralized way to easily get 4 or 5 or multiple models within their app. Is that the?
Yes and no. So let's take Together AI that I'm a little more familiar with than the rest, the Samba, Nova, the Replicate, and Fall. So Together AI gets a whole bunch of optimizations in how they handle the models. It's runtime optimization. So they have their own tools on top of the models. And so what this allows them to do is essentially have a platform and it's free for their users to actually switch from a model to model, but use their optimization tools.
Yeah, so let me say it differently. If we believe in a world that the models need to go to use that architecture, it needs to be model flexibility. And I need an easy way to go to different models here. The Together AI is one layer on that makes it even easier for me as a developer to swap
Correct.
models in and out for particular tasks, or even have task-specific models, maybe based on cost or particular veracity of a model on a task.
It's
Chris.
not optimizations on the model necessarily, Paul. It's optimization for developers. Like for example, Together AI offers interpretive services. That means that when you're debugging the code, you can go step by step and see what's happening, right? So, and then call the LLMs, whatever LLM. So LLM, it becomes less important, but the coding environment, if you're used to it, that's the important piece. And they have some runtime optimization, like they offer multiple LoRa mechanism that other people do not. So it's that type of layer of optimization that you are enforcing here, or you make available.
So, Chris, have you dug deep into Hugging Face and the inference of the hub on there?
So I really enjoy Hugging Face for sure. Everything that it's doing, especially for the open source movement. So that's great. I haven't used this inference tool set yet that allows us to sort of switch out which inference model we're using. But what's nice is that if you're a developer, you can build a workflow and then switch out and not be locked in to the models that you might lock into normally. So Hugging Face is now giving you a mechanism that you have 5 or 6 choices to switch out. And as they grow, I'm sure there may be more. That way you can continue your workflow. You don't break the whole development design that you've created, but you can switch out and maybe make your system perform better or worse, depending on which model. It's also, as this is very developer heavy, it's going to allow a little bit more of a tech bench to use from Hugging Face to tie in an inference model into your workflows. I think it's a very niche market right now where not a ton of companies are this far into the woods. So I definitely say it's optional for people to know this, but I think it's amazing that we're now building platforms that allow you to switch out the models in order to accomplish the tasks that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I agree. It's optional. I think this whole notion of being able to switch out models is going to be central so that you don't have vendor lock-in. But a great new service.
So I'm going to make, I was almost considering it essential. I'll make the case for important, but it's on the heels of the last article. So people read the last article, which is essential, and they say to themselves, okay, I want to use Hugging Face, but I don't want to use I want to use DeepSeek, but I don't want to use DeepSeek for my inference. Do I stand up my own infrastructure? How do I approach this? And so the real headline here in this, which is, I think, missed on many, I didn't even know about it. I posted on X the other day and said, oh, DeepSeek's so much cheaper than OpenAI. I think, when it comes back up, I'll get an API key. And there's one of the thought leaders through X, Min Choi, who knows this stuff pretty well inside and out. He commented and said, why are you getting an API key from DeepSeek? You should just use the inference API on Hugging Face. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then this article came up today, so I did more research. And basically, you can have one of these companies that's made the announcement today. For example, you can say, together, I want you to do the inference. I want to use your infrastructure, but I'm going to run Hugging Face on it. That way, I don't have to run it in China. You can also just tell Hugging Face, I want you to do the inference for me, and I want you to use DeepSeek, and they will just charge you for the API inference. That they're basically passing on the cost from DeepSeek, but you're no longer running the model with DeepSeek. You're running it like on the Hugging Face infrastructure. So I think for a lot of people who are starting to think, how do I leverage DeepSeek without running it, in China? Do I need to stand up my own infrastructure? What options are available to me? This is going to be a really good option. They've actually been doing an inference API on their hub since 2020. So I think that's really the headline here, is this inference API on the Hugging Face hub. And the fact that, yeah, there's 4 new models, but there's a lot of other models that have been on there already, including DeepSeek, which you could stand up right now and start using. And honestly, that's probably what I'm going to do for our internal agents in the very near future here. So I'd probably say important. Can I talk any of you up to that?
I think
Yes.
what you're mentioning about the ability to host open source models, but maybe allowing a third party to host that open source model is very good in theory for any build out. We've seen, like in the past, was it Bloomberg that spent tens of millions of dollars to build out their open source platform and then just got beat because they couldn't pivot or move out of what they tried to build. I think that this sort of solution helps mitigate that risk of going all in on your own premise, on your own large language model that may change or evolve. A system like this, if we're thinking of DeepSeek R1, what happens when R2 comes out? If you're fully vested in R1 on your own infrastructure, you're going to get stuck and not really be able to pivot that into R2 and host it yourself very quickly. Where looking at a Hugging Face, they're going to be the first to add the next versioning of their large language model. So I do think it's an important thing that people understand. I'd still say this article is optional, but I think in theory it's a really solid concept that you should know if you're developing.
Yeah, I think it is worth rating it higher. Adam, you convinced me, because look at other options, right? If you probably do not want to pay the fees for Microsoft structures and AWS, so the reason you're doing this is because you want to preserve your cost and tools that you've used, but switch the models and be model independent. That allows you to do that pretty inexpensively and safely. So I think it's worth noting that this is becoming available at the huge platform Hugging Face.
Yes, and Ashish there, I think, is weighing in on that side of things as well, that it's a very important point to start considering. John, Paul, you all right with important?
Yep. Keep going.
Wonderful. Let's move on to the next article then, please, Ankash.
Ankash is mute today.
Yes, but he can move on to the next article. Thank you. So this one is from Google Research, and it's about a new approach. It's not a mixture of agents, but it's a chain of agents. Chris, you get to kick us off here. What did you think about this news?
So I think this is a really cool concept. We've all heard of like chain of thought prompting. Now the next evolution is chain of agents working to perform really in-depth tasks. As we're seeing users really use a complete token window or their text window when they're prompting, they're starting to hit limits. And when you have Gemini that has like 1 million to 2 million token limit, that's a pretty substantial window. Some of the other models have smaller windows, but when you hit that window, your job sort of stopped, or you need a person pushing it forward. Also, when we have RAG models, retrieval augmented generation, you've trained a model on your information, and then you maybe request information from that RAG model. Sometimes it leaves out context and it leaves out information that you wish was part of its query or its output. This idea of chain of agents is designed that you can essentially create a manager agent and worker agents. And the worker agents are assigned certain tasks, and those tasks get completed and push their output to the manager agent. The manager agent reviews them on sort of its own rubric of understanding and its job tasking, compiles it, and then outputs the work. So essentially, you're able to run multiple AIs with different job tasks that can produce pretty complex outputs and work. This concept, we've started to see it over the last year, and it's really exciting that it's starting to come into the mainstream. And with that, this paper really is just showing the problems with prompting, the problems with RAG agents, and how this chain of agents concept is going to be a much more efficient solution to handle complex tasks. And
so what's your rating, though, on the article itself?
So I would say it's important. The tough thing with this is I it sounds like it would be like something great if it's off the shelf. It's not quite off the shelf. You still have to have some developers. You really got to think about how you want to deploy something like this. So with that, I would give this the mark of important, because this is going to be the future, well beyond prompt engineering or just RAG sort of models. So I'd say it's important to understand this is coming.
All right, we've got a vote for important. Thanks. That was a great synopsis, Chris. Paul, what did you think about this one?
I had it as optional. I think it's really important on the developer plumbing side. I think for the AI leader, I had it as optional only because I want our AI leader to get their head around DeepSeek, but it is important development.
Luda?
Adam, I was important. I think this is a very novel way of essentially getting the model, the level of information it gets from RAG, right? So RAG is a mechanism to feed it specialized data. Here, you don't have to. You can just put it into the long context window, and it will do it for you. It's an innovation that will get into all the models. So I think but it is not implemented yet per se, right? So it's kind of researchy yet. So that's why it's important, but certainly worth noting. So I thought important.
Yeah, I was going
John.
optional. I was going optional because of the it's really not, widely available. So, but sure. I mean, algorithmic innovations were I think 25.
I was leaning towards optional as well. I feel it's just a bit of a long tail till they're actually going to be adopting and implementing this.
Use the power, baby.
Yeah.
Ankash, tip the scales for me.
Yeah,
I'm a Democrat.
I think it's.
Oh, he can't. That's right. Optional it is. Let's move along. Next article.
Right.
I have the chalk today.
Feel the power. Yes, baby.
I'm feeling it. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ankash. This is from Llama Index, and it's about doing medical insurance analysis with agentic claim estimation. Bit out there, John. Another everyday miracle. What are we looking at?
Yeah, I had this thing rated as optional or important. I'm kind of at the edge. We're looking at all kinds of things. We go back to our WINS framework. Words, images, numbers, and sounds. So here you've got travel insurance, lots of different risks and claims and so forth, and the ability to really integrate that through a combination of better reading of the PDF documents, scalability, taking this unstructured data. I think there's such a gold mine in unstructured data in organizations. Some estimates put it at 90% or more, and in the past we've just kind of worked around it or give it to human beings. Whether it's TaskRabbit or offshoring and so forth. I just think automating this is going to radically change the economics of organizations. I actually did a long and extensive study on this phenomenon of progressively structuring, complex information, and it changes the economics, the flexibility, and so forth of an organization. For those of you interested in academic papers on the subject, I can send you a couple. Anyway, so I was kind of on the fence. Optional, important.
What do you think, Chris?
I would say optional as well. It's a great use case, but optional for most business leaders.
Luda, Paul?
I feel that every use case that is out there at scale and really working has to be read. It's like a 2-pager document that gives you in maybe a different industry, but it gives you very good use case, and it's working at scale of summarization of huge amount of data, multimodality, very fast, and 50 to 75% improvement in time handling each claim. It's huge. So I understand it's not necessarily relevant to everybody, but every good use case is very useful, I feel. So I rated it as important.
Yeah, I can support important. The other thing that's in here is that they do some innovation around the details of how to get the information, like improving the OCR and things like that. I'm on the board of a company where we're looking at exactly that problem. And if you can automate that, there's a huge difference between handing it to a human and if you can fully automate that, that's a big difference.
All right, let's go with important on this one then, and move along.
Adam, I think you have to introduce that article.
Yeah, I'm trying to see too many screens. So here we have a piece from Foundation Capital about the paradox of self-building agents, teaching the AI to teach itself. Chris, tell me.
So this article really shows us how we're moving from like passive AI tools to active agents. They break down a really nice sort of setup of levels. There's 4 levels they consider AI agents. Level 0 is fixed tools. This is traditional AI that you sort of got a prompt, sort of like what we're seeing with just the chat models. Level 1 is request-based self-building, which is AI builds new tools only when told to. Level 2 needs-based self-building, which it sort of understands the needs of an organization or a task and does it. And then level 3 is this anticipatory building, which would be almost like an intentional agent that starts to actually do work. They consider us at level 0 today with most AI. Reading this, it's more of like the philosophy of the future of AI build outs as we build towards AGI. I don't think that there's anything in here that's like revolutionary that is going to give everybody like, wow, this is mind blowing. It's very philosophical. I think we're still a little bit away from the AGI side, or this intentional agent that has its own praxis in doing work. And in some cases, I don't know if a lot of companies are ready to even implement AI fully, and definitely not give AI the keys to the castle to start building. So with this, I think it's philosophically interesting, but as far as ranking it, I would say that this is I've seen it so much. I would say it's optional. You could definitely push me into like an important in this realm.
No.
I don't think you're going to get anyone pushing in
Good.
on this one.
Optional.
Okay.
Simple optional.
All right, let's 58 after the hour. Let's put a big O on it and get to the last one. Thank you. All right, super. Last article. I hope I am pronouncing this correctly. I haven't heard anyone say it, but I'll say Dubao 1.5 Pro. This is from ByteDance, the team behind TikTok, and they have a new model they claim is the ultimate balance between model performance and inference performance. Luda, is it all talk, or is there some substance?
Yeah, no, I actually rate it as important. This is a DeepSeek 2. So it's they have really significant innovations, and that's why it's certainly worth. This is the team that is pushing the boundary, and you can see even in the language of this post that they are just excited about pushing the boundary between performance and efficiency. So this is a sparse MOE architecture. So let me just say a couple of words. So it's mixture of experts, and it's sparse. So mixture of experts dissects the model into other like smaller models, and says, well, you two are good at this. They are experts at this, and they fire these experts when needed. So as a result, that's the introduction of sparsity into the model. They worked at the ratio that predicts, so they call it an MOE scaling law, that essentially this training loss curve on the first page on Kaj, if you can scroll to that. So essentially that is a predictor that up. Oh, here, sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's the one. So they essentially can manage how many parameters trigger the sparsity, if you will. So they are they are saying to us here, it's a 1 to 7 they experimented with and gotten this performance. Moreover, on the visual side, the performance is even better. So the integration of the multimodal capabilities are even better. So all in all, this is lots of innovation. This is where I feel the wisdom or the as John says, algorithmic optimization will come in, but at massive, massive scales. So I feel it's important to monitor.
All right. Case well made. Chris, what do you think?
I can say that it's important too. Anything that you're seeing out of this group is really important to look at. They have the funding, they have the team and talent to really change and challenge the large language model sort of ecosystem. So it's good to keep an eye on it.
And Chris, as a footnote to that, to me, ByteDance is the DeepSeek of the Asia. So we have not DeepSeek, DeepMind. So we have DeepMind coming without beating Go and everything else and going to Google here. And we've seen this now in the last 4 or 5 years of the transformation on TikTok and now moving to some of these other things here. So I really highlight your thing of these needs to be watched.
Yeah, and
right.
is commenting that sparse models are the ones that will give us more inference, for sure. And he knows because he's building them.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Let's go with an important there as well. And Ankaj, if you could please bring up the final tally. We had an essential in the first article about whether DeepSeek's really sending data to China. 3 importance and 2 optionals today, and debatably another important at that. Is it coming up, Ludo? Are we getting the?
Oh,
there we go.
Hold on a second. No, it was on. Okay, here we go.
There we go. Fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much to my co-analysts. Christopher, thank you. Always a pleasure to have you. You bring so much insight, and we're always welcome back anytime. To all the listeners, thanks so much, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.